Hey, what's up? Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. You're probably wondering why I called you here today. Us to learn more Photoshop. Today we're going to be doing this. Yes, this is the tiny face effect. Very funny. Again, not too tricky. I've got it here on my home screen. This is Mr. Lionel Richie, the greatest of all time. Hello! And I'm going to teach you how to do it. So let's jump right in. Get yourself a bit of water, because the doctor says so. And of course, get yourself a bit of music. We never jump into Photoshop without any music. Today we're going to throw it way back for the music.
Postman Pat, Postman Pat, Postman Pat, and his black and white cat.
Forever the immortal lyrics of Postman Pat, Postman Pat, Postman Pat, and his black and white cat. Cool. Open Photoshop. Get the photo you obviously want to give a tiny face to. Drop it on in. Here's Donnie Trump.
Terrific.
So, first thing we're going to want to do, Command with one index finger, J with the other index finger. We should know by now that this duplicates our base layer and creates another one for us to work with. Go ahead and hide the bottom layer. Come back up to the top layer. Now, the first thing we need to do is create a blank canvas on his face. So we need to get rid of all his facial features, which is very fun. It's also terrifying. Index finger, L for the, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, the lasso tool. And we're going to start by taking out each individual section of his face. So, we're going to start with the eyebrows. Click, 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 click. The eyebrows and the eyes, should I say. So you're going to make a selection around his eyebrow and his eye. Right click, come down to Fill, Content Aware, and hit OK. Terrifying. Leave it as it is for now. We're going to do a bit of tidying up later on. Go ahead onto the other eye. Do the same thing. Right click, Fill, Content Aware. Bang, and that's that done. Again, same thing for the nose. Stick fairly close to the edges. You don't want to overlap too much, because what Content Aware does is it takes into consideration the area around your selection and pulls bits in to replace what it thinks it should be filling. So if you go too far, we're going to get bits of his ear and bits of his hair getting pulled in. We don't want that. Down to the lips. Those tiny
lips.
Down to the chin. Obviously, your subject will be different as to what sort of facial details they have. This effect tends to be far easier on people with quite youthful skin, shall we say. Not a lot of contours, not a lot of lines, just all nice and clean. Not a lot of shadow either. You don't really want to be doing this with someone who has, a very harsh light coming from one side. All this side of their face is in shadow. You want people that are fairly well lit, and that'll make things much easier. So now we have this top layer. We've sort of deleted his face. But we need to clean a few things up. So, index finger, S. This brings up our clone stamp tool. Now, the clone stamp tool is very, very clever. You're going to tell it which part of the image to clone from, and then you're going to paint that part of the image over where your brush is selected. Left index finger, Option or... I don't know what that thing is on a Windows machine. Alt or Option. So you're going to hold this down and your mouse is going to change into this little sort of target area. Now, this takes a bit of practice and a bit of sort of trial and error messing about. You want to paint in bits of the skin that remain. So, for this left eye here, I'm going to select just below the cheek, and then we're going to start sort of just giving a few little dots, do a bit of clicking, do a bit of click and drag. Now, as you can see here, it's kind of obvious that we've got circular dots, so you just want to pull in bits from others. So I'm now going to select this area of the head and sort of try and get a bit of that in, and so on. So you want to now do this across the whole face and get it sort of clean and a bit smoother. Okay, so here we go. Again, it's not the most convincing of things, but it'll do for what we need it for. If you come back down to our layers tab here and we drag our bottom layer up to the top, we can see his face is still there. Rename this no face, and we'll rename this face. So we now want to bring no face to the bottom, bring face to the top. Again, index finger L for the lasso tool. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to chop out the whole of his face, and we're going to chop out the whole of what we've gotten rid of, if that makes sense. So I'll show you here. So we got rid of the eyes, we came in here, we got rid of the mouth, got rid of the chin, there's a little, what even is that? Now, we're going to want to feather this quite heavily. So, right-click, come down to Feather. We're going to go for 25 pixels and see how that works. See what works for you. Command with the left index finger. T with the right. This is going to bring up our little resize tool. And we're going to begin to shrink the face. Oh, look at that. That looks very strange indeed. We've now shrunk the face. Doesn't look terrible. There's a bit of cleaning up to do. So again, we're going to come back in to our top layer. So we're still on face. And again, we're going to use our little clone stamp tool. So S on the keyboard. And we've got a couple of lines here that could do with just sort of disappearing a bit. It's a bit of an aggressive blend. You know, you could take that and it'd be quite funny. Like, my little Lionel one here isn't very good. It was a very quick one. But something you can do to try and blend the two a bit better is come back up to our top layer, which is our face layer, and we're just going to click the E key. Now, this brings up our eraser tool. Now, we don't want to start painting stuff out and getting rid of stuff totally. However, we do want to kind of just soften all the edges. So, get yourself a soft brush selected, which is up here. Soft round brush when we're in the eraser tool. And bring the opacity down to maybe 40%. Mine's on 41. And we're just going to go into the cheeks, in and around the chin, and just soften up how the top layer blends into the bottom. Bring the opacity down a bit more if you want to, and go in on the details a bit more. Definitely helped a lot there, actually. Quite a lot indeed. So there you go. That's how you make a tiny face. That's how you take someone's face and you shrink it into their body. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know if you have any techniques that you'd like to go into more detail about. And I can probably not help you at all. But if they're sort of fairly pointless techniques that involve just making people look silly, then I'm the man to come to. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. We'll see you in the next one.